Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 1v1 on Ashes of Typhon. And our players, we're going to start off with Mostafa007, playing as the Eldar Farseer. This is a support hero with spells and area of effect control. And his opponent will be LOCALgHOST, playing as the Techmarine. A shooty Space Marine ranged hero with a gun for every occasion and the ability to repair vehicles. So, we've got Eldar versus Space Marines. Classically speaking, this is a matchup that I think has often been stated to favor Eldar. And of course, people will argue these things until the end of time. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who will want to say that Space Marines have the advantage. And I think Space Marines, there are certainly definitely ways that they can handle this matchup. I've heard some people say they feel the Techmarine is actually a little weak, which is interesting to hear that. I've often personally thought of the Techmarine as strong. Some people say weaker in 1v1. I do feel that he can definitely be strong in team games at the very least. But I also do trust the opinions of other more active players than myself at the moment, if I'm completely honest. At any rate, we are going to see the Techmarine is going to be tied up by the Farseer. So we do see the focus fire coming in from the scouts. If anything, I want the scouts to stop moving though, so that they do get their. Oh, I see. They're trying to actually dodge the Dire Avengers. They're in cover. Eventually, the scouts will lose to the Dire Avengers, but that's why the Techmarine is coming in. Unfortunately, the Techmarine is not in cover. He's going for force melee. He's so low in hit points though, and now he's getting the mastercrafted bolter. I wonder if he will use high-powered shot to see if he can snipe a model in retreat, but I think they're out of range. Now, map control is typically considered a strength for Eldar since they passively move a little bit faster than most other units in the game. They also do have fleet of foot, which allows them more mobility that most other races just don't have. Space Marines often considered rather strong in map control too, though, since they do have scouts, which also passively have more mobility than most other units in the game, since they just move a little bit faster. Howling Banshees will attempt to decap here. The decap is really all they want here. Oh, they're actually going to choose to engage. I thought they were just going to back off, but instead he chooses to engage, uses War Shout to knock down the Tactical Marines. He's starting this engagement with only about 70% of his hit points. Now I think he wants to call the retreat. Lost 2 models there. I think one of those might have been able to be prevented. So we're seeing the use of that Mastercrafted Bolter, and the Mastercrafted Bolter is a warrior that has come come up in a few other games that I've cast, but mostly team games. And there have been times in some of those team games when I really questioned the Mastercrafted Bolter purchase and felt it was unnecessary. In this particular matchup, with what I'm seeing here right now, I think the Mastercrafted Bolter purchase is very, very appropriate. I do not question it at all. I think it's something that is great for dealing with the Howling Banshees, and I think it just really helps that he's really respecting the Banshee, just the fact that there are Banshees, which Banshees are a very threatening melee unit. In my opinion, out of all of the Tier 1 melee units, they are one of the most threatening and one of the most scalable. And what that Mastercrafted Bolter does, it just gives you another way of controlling the Banshees through that high-powered shot because of the suppression, which is really definitely the primary purpose and primary reason for getting the Mastercrafted Bolter here. And it also does do some burst damage because that high-powered shot does something like it actually does tell me here 140 sniper damage, and I do think that will instantly kill one of the Banshee models, at least on a level 1 Banshee squad that has no Exarch. So Assault Marines will come out for LOCALgHOST. Assault Marines, obviously a big purpose of the Assault Marines is to deal with the Guardian weapon team. I haven't actually seen the Guardian weapon team come into play much yet. Right now it's a pretty even game. Obviously a lot less action-packed than a team game. 1v1s play out very much differently, in part because aside from just the fact that there are fewer players, but I also feel that the size of the maps is kind of disproportionate for, let's say, the size of the maps compared to 1v1 and 3v3 is not really proportionate to the increase or decrease in units. Basically, 3v3 maps are a lot more cramped than these 1v1 maps, given how many players there are. Assault Marines, I don't even know if they should finish this. Like, he's clearly keeping them in there because they want to finish this, and he is just going to jump on them, and then I was going to say, I thought it would just be an instant retreat. Oh my god, double Howling Banshees. I think one of these Assault Marine models could go down in retreat. If it doesn't, it would be very close. All right, it looks like the Banshees won't get another sword swing. Even one more sword swing could be what would have resulted in one of those Banshee models dying. Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw those Assault Marines jump in, I really wanted to see them just instantly retreat, not even deal with trying to fight the Banshees in melee. It's not something that those Assault Marines really want to spend much time doing. And generally, Howling Banshees are, if anything, considered a counter to Assault Marines. We've also got 2 squads of Howling Banshees. I don't like that approach, where both squads were guaranteed to get hit by the shotgun blast. I feel like that should have been a staggered or a split approach if he even wanted to approach the shotgun scouts, because at least one squad was guaranteed to get knocked down and suppressed, and then they were bunched up enough that both of them did. Ooh, high-powered shot used on the Farseer. I actually don't like that. That means it's on cooldown, and he won't have it available for either of these Howling Banshee squads. Both players going to tier 2. Local Ghost going there faster, not too surprising. I don't even think shotgun is ready. Does use a grenade. Does actually kill some Howling Banshee models. That's Doom going to be on the Techmarine. So interesting war gears that we are seeing. Farseer actually fully kitted out. So Doombringer is I mean, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say it that, in my opinion, I do feel that it is the best overall weapon that the Farseer has. Since I think the Doom ability, which will amplify the damage that a target takes by 30%, is just the strongest thing that will come out of any weapon war gear that the Farseer has. Very versatile. Spirit Stones, not surprising at all. I wouldn't be surprised to see Spirit Stones with a single squad of Howling Banshees, but especially with 2 Howling Banshees, I feel like Spirit Stones are practically mandatory. Hope he has a cast of... Okay, he does have a cast of Spirit Stones. The double Howling Banshee build is extremely risky, considering... As much as Howling Banshees are an incredibly dangerous unit, and you might think, well, if they're so dangerous, why not just get more than one of them? They are also a unit that is very, very prone to bleeding. And this is enough of a problem if you have 1 squad of Howling Banshees and you don't manage it correctly. 2 squads of Howling Banshees I do view very much as a high-risk, high-reward build, where you can... It's definitely plausible that you can wipe some units, wipe some Tactical Marines, wipe some Assault Marines, incapacitate a Techmarine with this build. But it's also very plausible that you could bleed a lot and find yourself unable to even tech into tier 3. Grenade goes in. That's a good use of those Spirit Stones. That grenade did not kill a single... That grenade did not kill a single Howling Banshee. Oh, man. That Techmarine getting speared by that Banshee Exarch. So yeah, that grenade, although it did something like half of the Banshee squad's damage, it didn't kill a single model. So that opened up the way to just use Spirit Stones, and it's like, then they just heal up instantly. So I feel like the Spirit Stones is like mandatory in the build that he's going. And then finally, we got the Armor of Fortune, and this is the one that I remember the least out of the Farseer's armor upgrades. Grants the Fortune ability, which temporarily reduces the damage taken by an allied unit for 15 seconds. I really like this. I really like the way Mostafa is building his Farseer at the moment. It's very themed and very purposeful, because I talked about how essential I felt those Spirit Stones were, and I feel like the Armor of Fortune plays even more to his build that he is getting an ability that will reduce the damage of, and it will inevitably go on one of those Banshee squads. Inevitably. Okay, missile launcher is out. Dreadnought is also not surprising at all. Dreadnought does a lot to nullify the Banshees. Now, the Banshees are mobile enough that they should be able to avoid the Dreadnought in most cases, but it's also just the deterring effect. And we see there, the Banshees, once they started getting close to the Dreadnought, they made a complete 180 and just turned around, because if they don't, they get hit by the Emperor's Fist, or the Fist of the Emperor. Doom used on that Dreadnought to make it take more damage from the Bright Lance. And, I mean, the Dreadnought has always been a melee counter since it does do splash damage. So it will massively out-trade most melee squads that attempt to fight it. And then, of course, you can just use the Emperor's Fist to stun and knock down any squads that are around the Dreadnought when it approaches. However, Bright Lance is putting in a lot of work on that Dreadnought, making it very difficult for LOCALgHOST to approach. And undoubtedly, we're probably also going to assume that the Farseer is using her baseline guide ability on the Bright Lance to both increase the damage it does as well as increase its range. Now, overall, I feel like Mostafa's playing very well. However, he's actually losing on the victory points because he does not have control of the victory points. While LOCALgHOST, on the other hand, a triple scout, and 2 of these are late scouts, and I can only imagine. My best right now, it appears that their purpose is to be used for repairs. I'm actually wondering, though, if eventually he maybe plans to put sniper rifles on them to put more long-range damage, to start poking out these Banshees from a distance, which can force out the Spirit Stones early, make it harder for them to engage, and then Mostafa would be in a bit of a strange position where, if indeed LOCALgHOST gets snipers, he can't just wait out the Dreadnought, because he will eventually lose a war of attrition. We don't see him going for that yet, though. Those other scouts do not have any weapon upgrades. Just going to see the engagement. And wow, Farseer. Just straight up misplay from the Farseer. But there is the Emperor's Fist. So much damage. One of those squads of Howling Banshees in a lot of trouble. And this is looking like a one engagement, as well as a dead Bright Lance. Somehow that engagement went totally south for Mostafa, and I'm not entirely sure how. The Farseer died very, very unnecessarily, just tanking too much range damage on approach, which is really strange considering there isn't, I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of range damage coming out from LOCALgHOST at the moment. I mean, I guess he does have like 5, he actually does have 5 ranged units, which in theory would say like, well, that's got to be a lot of range damage, but I mean, we're talking about Bolter Scouts, which don't do a lot of range damage, Missile Launcher Tac Squad, which gave up one of the bolters for a missile launcher. Although, I think Shotgun Scouts do quite a bit of range damage, especially up close, but I feel like one of these shotgun upgrades either came pretty late. I don't know if it was actually in time for dealing with that Farseer who came so close, but at any rate, Farseer's dead. Generator Bash is going to happen for LOCALgHOST, and it's weird. For me, it feels like he is coming back into this game, when the truth is, if you actually look at the map, he's actually been winning this whole time. The map and the victory points. He's got the 402 to 292, so if anything, it's Mostafa who is actually behind in this game, even though, to me, it didn't feel like it. And we have some relay bacon, some delicious relay bacon. And of course, by that, I just mean the relay beacon, but, you know, once upon a time, I was definitely tripping over my words and saying relay bacon. It's been a long time since I've seen one of these. Even in a team game. I've definitely seen some Techmarines in team games. And this relay beacon is going to make it extremely difficult for Mostafa to take back the contested victory points. So that's why he is playing the map control game. He's got a squad of Dire Avengers, which, crazily enough, I'm not sure if they've... it looks to me that they don't even have their aspect of the Avenger. Like I was questioning myself for a second, but they've got a Warlock leader, or rather a Dire Avenger Exarch, but they don't have the aspect of the Avenger. So I think they're mostly committed to being a capping unit at the moment. I think this will be a turret. No, just more proximity mines. Orbs of the Omnissiah as well. We're going to see double Bright Lance. Mostafa is having enough trouble with that Dreadnought that he wants the double Bright Lances. Now, the only problem with that is that right now it's actually not so much the approach of the Dreadnought that's killing him. It's really everything else. And I think LOCALgHOST, if he does want to engage on Mostafa, I don't think he'll have any trouble with that. However, perhaps he can sight for taking out the turret. No, I mean this is now just Mostafa trapped in his base by a Techmarine. I mean, at this point, if we take a look at the range of the Bright Lance cannons, they're so long that he could target the Tarantula turret outside of its range, but he doesn't have sight. So I think he's trying to sight with the Farseer. Pretty sure the Farseer does also have like a far sight global that she could use. And he's going hard in on the Dreadnought. Is he going to finish off the Dreadnought? No. Dreadnought is now out of range, and the Falcon is taking attack missile launcher shots. If anything, I want to see him turn the Bright Lance. I honestly want to see him turn the Bright Lance on the Tarantula turret and take that out. This is rough. This is actually brutal. Mostafa can't get out of his base at the moment, and although I don't really know for sure just how good the Techmarine actually is in 1v1, I can say if we do at least want to talk about what are the strengths of the Techmarine, this is definitely part of it. The Techmarine can lock you down like this if you let him and if you are unable to break it. So finally he does what I felt that he should have done, which was target the turret. Although I think that turret, was that upgraded to a missile launcher in its last moments? Not sure, won't be able to tell. Reinforcements to the Guardian weapon team are actually coming out from the Falcon here, so almost using that like his own bit of relay bacon. So with the turret down, Mostafa's going to see if he can find a way to come out of the base, and now, no ambiguity when I say that now Mostafa is the one who really needs to find a way to get back into this game. He's going to send both Howling Banshees over for the decap on the Space Marine natural, Farseer for the decap on his own natural. I mean, the good thing about sending the double Howling Banshees here is that this is not something that LOCALgHOST can respond to with only one unit. Like, these scouts here can't do anything about this, and none of the other units from LOCALgHOST that actually can deal with those Banshees are in range, and to rotate to that side of the map would take them quite a bit of time. It might even involve them conceding not just the contested victory point, but more importantly, the relay beacon. So it is to Mostafa's advantage to play to the left side of the map, but his forces are still a bit split. Oh my god, those Dire Avengers are probably going to get wiped, and in fact they do. That is brutal. Melt-A-Bomb will go in. No other damage, though, ready to deal with the Falcon. And did the Dreadnought go down? I can't believe I missed that. How did the Dreadnought even go down? It must... Oh, it was just a focus from the Bright Lances. Meanwhile, Missile Launcher is targeting the Falcon. I think the Falcon goes down too, and indeed it does, because not only do we have a Missile Launcher, we do have the Melt-A-Gun from the Techmarine switching out those weapons. Autarch was called in from Mostafa. I didn't miss that, I just didn't call it out. Where's the Farseer? Farseer is in base, so there isn't a heal ready, but the Techmarine will go down. I was going to say, I wanted to see a heal soon on this squad of Banshees. And I do believe... Okay, both Banshees are actually aspect of strength Banshees. I was wondering if he decided to split them up, get one aspect of strength, one aspect of fleetness. And this relay beacon has yet to be dislodged. Now I'm trying to think of an answer to the relay beacon. The problem is, for me, is that all of the answers that I can think of are tier 3.
We must not lose the day.
Those answers being, one would be an Eldritch Storm, for one. You Eldritch the beacon. The Eldritch itself might destroy the beacon, then of course you do a lot of damage to the units that are caught in it, and then you can engage on the units that were caught in the Eldritch. Another answer would be a D-cannon and start throwing some singularities on the relay beacon. And that would work similarly to the Eldritch, just without spending 500 red. And another option would be a Fire Prism, which would probably be the least effective out of everything I had just said. But it still just puts a lot of area of effect damage on units that are concentrated there. Grenade, that's got to be a kill. Yeah, that's a kill on that. I'm not even sure if he cares that much. But oh my god, a Venerable Dreadnought. Venerable Dreadnought immediately... Oh, I was going to say immediately upgrading to Dark Age of Technology, but then immediately cancelled. I mean, Dark Age of Technology would... I feel like would make this Dreadnought almost unkillable. But, I mean, what he's probably thinking is that he can probably keep the Dreadnought alive for the moment without Dark Age of Technology, and might want to invest those resources somewhere else. Autark. Howling Banshees. I feel like one of these squads of Howling Banshees... Okay, actually, you know, it's just straight up a flank to deal with the relay beacon, and I think this is actually going to be the relay beacon eventually going down. I'm surprised he's not going for destroying the relay beacon, but one of the reasons for that could be to actually trap the tactical marines as well as the assault marines if they just start retreating to the relay beacon. So wow, Mostafa not even needing those tier 3 options that I had said for trying to break the relay beacon. Instead, he manages to get the full flank with the Howling Banshees. This is guaranteed a kill on the Techmarine. Like, even if he retreated, like, 2 seconds ago. Yeah, Techmarine, that's an easy kill against the Techmarine. Venerable's actually now in quite a bit of trouble. Now, I think it should still have the Emperor's Fist. It is going to get repairs, and actually the relay beacon hasn't been destroyed. This is funny. Ooh, but he just drove over a proximity mine. He's going to have trouble moving away from the Dreadnought now. And the Dreadnought's going to be able to finish off... I think... Oh my god, he's not managing to get that last swing. Got it. That was actually low-key brilliant. Using that... Baiting him into the proximity mine. Actually, I mean, for Mostafa, it was... He was getting a little too bold in there because he was driving up real close, drove over the proximity mine, or floated perhaps, and that works, I believe, as a minor snare. Snares vehicles, yep. Proximity mine did snare the vehicles, going for the Axe of the Mechanicum. I'm not actually sold on the Axe of the Mechanicum at all in this engagement. I could see switching to Bionics, but not the Axe of the Mechanicum. Because even right now, with just what he has here, Axe of the Mechanicum, I'm pretty sure he's still going to lose handily in melee to Howling Banshees. However, if he did have Bionics, that would give him some disruption. That would be able to knock them down. Bionics, like, if the intention is to deal with the Banshees, I think Bionics would do infinitely more than the Axe of the Mechanicum. But it's also possible that that's not his intention. Perhaps he has a different reason for wanting to get the Axe of the Mechanicum, but I'm still not quite sure what that could be. Orb of the Omnissiah, meanwhile, draining the energy. I think Spirit Stone's potentially used a little bit early, but I also don't think it's really going to matter. I think that's a grenade attempt. Grenades are starting to be less impactful because our Banshees are leveled. We have a level 2 and level 3 squad of Howling Banshees, so they're going to be a little bit more resilient to those grenades. Or perhaps resistant would actually be a more correct word to use in that situation. And, I mean, at some point in this game, Mostafa was pinned in his base and couldn't get out. And he was really struggling. Now we're actually at the point where it is kind of LOCALgHOST who is kind of struggling. He lost quite a few units. Lost tactical marines, lost assault marines, lost a squad of scouts, so he doesn't have a whole lot left. He does have a predator, though, but he also has, well, I was going to say he has a vehicle-heavy army, but that is appropriate for the Techmarine, since aside from the scouts, he does have the repair coming from the Techmarine himself. He can always use the repair global, the Blessing of the Omnissiah, which is a great global, in my opinion.
Just as you require.
And it looks like the relay beacon... I mean, Mostafa's actually handling this really well, where at some point, like, it's great that, like, he's basically ignoring the relay beacon and just playing to this side of the map, where, especially now with the bigger army, he can hold these 2 victory points, I think, just about as long as he wants. The only real downside to this, in my opinion, I would say, is the fact that if LOCALgHOST does eventually manage to somehow overcome this, Mostafa would be in potentially a situation where he could find himself with some unfortunate retreat paths, but I don't even think that's too much of a problem. It's actually a bit of a stretch. We see the Autarch with the fusion gun, and you know what? Up against all the vehicles we're seeing. Okay, this is going to be LOCALgHOST push. He does have red for 1 cast of Blessing of the Omnissiah to make this engagement go, but why are those scouts so close? I don't entirely know. I mean, I guess, oh, I see. They wanted the grenade kill, or they wanted to throw in that grenade on the Brightlands to make way for the Dreadnought, but so many other things are happening. One of those Banshee squads is finally going to go down, and I'm a little bit surprised to see that happen. And the Farseer is fighting here, I think, against the Techmarine. And perhaps the intention of the Techmarine was actually to deal with the Farseer head-to-head. And if that's the purpose, then that does make a little bit more sense. Ooh, Venerable Dreadnought with Dark Age of Technology being kept alive with that Blessing of the Omnissiah Global. So that makes a little bit more sense if the Techmarine's purpose is to duel the Farseer, because I think he would actually do pretty well head-to-head against the Farseer, especially because the Axe of the Mechanicum will be draining her energy and make it less easy for her to use her spells.
We are guided by a greater force.
So LOCALgHOST has moved in here. He needs to start getting a unit capping.
Enemy space
Like, he did it eventually, but he did not have much time to waste on that. Oh, actually, no, he did, because he already had the double cap. And it's looking like he is actually going to take this game. Yeah, VP is just ticking down slowly, not the early concede. And all things considered, that was actually, I think that was an amazing 1v1 game with just the turns both ways. That was a great game. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I hope you have a good night.